It's been exactly 184 days since Mia died in that car crash. Every night before I sleep, I send a text to her old number. I miss you. Good night. I wish you were here. I know no one will answer. I just do it to feel close to her. The messages always stay undelivered. They never change to read. Because dead people don't read text messages. At least that's what I thought. Last night was different. At 3:33 a.m., my phone buzzed on the nightstand. I woke up, squinting at the bright screen. I opened our chat window. My blood turned to ice. The message I sent 2 hours ago, the status had changed. It didn't say delivered anymore. It said, read 3:33 a.m. Before I could even process it, another notification popped up, this time from our shared cloud album. Mia uploaded 5 new photos. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the phone. I told myself it was a hacker, a glitch, anything but her. I clicked the notification. The first photo was chaotic. Wet asphalt, shattered glass, red police lights. It was the crash site from 6 months ago. But the second photo, it was from now. It was a picture of my apartment building taken from across the street. There was a street lamp flickering in the photo. The timestamp was 3:34 a.m. Just 1 minute ago. I jumped out of bed and ran to the window. The street was empty. Ding. A new photo loaded. It was my front door, taken from the hallway. The number 402 was clearly visible. She, or it, was right outside my door. Ding. The fourth photo. It was inside my living room. The TV I forgot to turn off was glowing blue in the dark. I locked my bedroom door. I backed away into the corner, holding my breath. The fifth photo appeared. It was a picture of my bedroom door taken from the inside. Wait. No. It was taken from the corner of my room. I looked at the photo closely. It showed my bed and the large standing mirror next to it. In the mirror's reflection, there was a dark, distorted figure standing behind the curtains. I slowly lowered the phone and looked at the curtains in my room. My phone buzzed one last time. Not a photo, a text message.
Why did you lock the door?
Then came the sound. Click. The sound of the lock on my bedroom door turning from the inside. The handle slowly turned down. The door creaked open, revealing the dark living room. I held my breath, waiting for a monster to jump out. But there was nothing, just the empty, silent hallway. I let out a shaky breath, thinking it was over. Then my phone flashed with one final notification. Mia uploaded a photo. I looked down. It was a photo of me standing there, looking at the door. But in the photo, pale, broken hands were reaching down from the ceiling, inches from my hair. I didn't even have time to look up. Most people look back on kindergarten with fond memories. Finger painting, nap time, the smell of graham crackers. I look back on it and I feel a knot of cold dread tighten in my stomach. It started with a class project. Mrs. Davis, our teacher, had this bright idea about connecting with the world. We were all given helium balloons, mine was bright red, and told to write a note, tie it to the string, and let it go. The idea was simple. Write your name, what you liked, and your school's address. If someone found it, they were supposed to write back to the class. I was 5 years old. I didn't understand boundaries or safety. Instead of the school address, I wrote my home address. And on the note, in clumsy crayon letters, I wrote, "Hi, my name is Leo. I like T-Rex dinosaurs and the color blue. Who are you?" I remember watching that red speck disappear into the bright blue sky, hoping it would go all the way to China. 3 weeks later, I got my first letter. My mom seemed excited. "Look, Leo, someone found your balloon." It was a plain white envelope with no return address. Inside there was no letter, just a photograph. It was a Polaroid. The colors were slightly washed out. It showed a dense, dark forest. Snagged high in the skeletal branches of a dead oak tree was a deflated scrap of red rubber. My balloon. At 5, I thought it was cool. I taped the picture to my bedroom wall right above my bed. A month went by. Another envelope arrived. Again, no return address. Inside, another Polaroid. This one was different. It wasn't the woods. It was a picture of my elementary school playground. It was taken from across the street, through the chain link fence. In the center of the frame, tiny and blurry on the swing set, was me. I was wearing my favorite blue jacket. My mom thought it was strange. Maybe a local photographer found it and wanted to surprise you, she rationalized. But I remember her double-checking the locks that night. Then the gifts started appearing. They weren't mailed. They were left. The first one was on our front porch. A small plastic toy T-Rex. It was dirty, like it had been buried in mud. My mom threw it away, telling me not to touch strange toys. The next one was terrifying, though I didn't fully grasp why at the time. I woke up one morning to find something taped to the outside of my first-floor bedroom window. It was a drawing. It was crudely done in dark, heavy charcoal. It was a stick figure drawing of a tall, black figure standing next to a small bed. Underneath the bed, drawn with intense pressure, were 2 wide staring eyes. My parents called the police. They filed a report. But since there were no direct threats, there wasn't much they could do. Probably just neighborhood teenagers pulling pranks, the officer said. My parents installed motion sensor lights. They told me I wasn't allowed to play in the front yard anymore. The climax happened 6 months after I let that balloon go. It was November, a stormy night. I woke up around 2 a.m., desperately thirsty. The house was silent except for the drumming of rain against the siding. I crept out of my room and down the hallway toward the kitchen. The motion lights outside were flickering nervously in the wind. As I passed the living room archway, I stopped. The front door was unlocked. Not just unlocked, but slightly ajar. The wind was pushing it open an inch, then letting it close with a soft click. And on the hardwood floor of the entryway leading into the living room were wet, muddy boot prints. They were huge. Frozen in terror, I peered into the dark living room. The motion light outside flickered on for a second, casting long, swinging shadows through the front window. In that brief flash of light, I saw him. A man was sitting in my dad's armchair in the corner of the room. He was dressed entirely in dark, rain-soaked clothing. He wasn't moving. He was just sitting there in the dark, facing the hallway where I stood, waiting. I didn't scream. Terror silenced me. I turned and ran back to my room, diving under my covers, pulling them tight over my head. I laid there shaking, listening, praying the door handle wouldn't turn. I must have passed out from fear. I woke up the next morning to my mother screaming. The police were everywhere. My parents were frantic. Nothing was stolen. The man hadn't taken a single thing, but he had left something. On my pillow, right next to where my head had been lying while I hid under the covers, was another Polaroid photo. The police took it as evidence, but I saw it before they did. It was a picture of me, taken from the doorway of my bedroom just hours before. All you could see was the lump of my body under the blankets. And written across the bottom of the photo in black marker were 3 words: I found you. We moved a week later. My parents never really explained it to me fully until I was much older. They never caught the guy. The police said the boot prints led back into the woods behind our subdivision and vanished. I'm 30 years old now. I live in a secure apartment building on the 10th floor. I don't have a yard. Sometimes when I'm driving, I'll see a child hold a balloon. And I have to pull over because my hands, I start shaking too hard to grip the wheel. I want to scream at them to hold on tight. Don't let go. You never know who's waiting to catch it. It was 3:17 a.m. when I woke up with a dry throat. I groggily got out of bed, shuffled to the kitchen, and drank a glass of water. The house was dead silent, the kind of silence that feels heavy. I walked back to my bedroom and crawled under the covers. As I pulled the blanket up to my chin, my eyes naturally drifted across the room. That's when my blood ran cold. Before I left the room to get water, my closet door was definitely shut tight. I have a habit of closing it because I don't like seeing clothes in the dark, but now it was open just a crack, maybe an inch. I tried to tell myself it was just a draft, or maybe the latch was old, but then I saw it. In the pitch black gap of the closet door, something was slightly lighter than the darkness. As my eyes adjusted, I realized what it was. It was a pale finger. Someone was inside the closet, gripping the edge of the door, pulling it slightly inward to peek at me. A scream rose in my throat, but my survival instinct slammed it down. If I screamed now, I was trapped in this bed. I had no weapon, and they were 5 feet away. Do not react. My brain screamed. Pretend you didn't see it. I forced my stiff body to relax. I let out a long, annoyed sigh, acting like someone who just remembered a forgotten chore. I sat up abruptly in bed, scratching my head loudly. Ah, damn it. Did I leave the garage door open again? I muttered, making sure my voice was loud enough to carry to the closet. I threw the covers off and stomped my feet on the floor, acting like an annoyed homeowner. I walked out of the bedroom, not daring to look at the closet, even though I could feel eyes burning into the side of my head. I walked down the hallway, fighting the urge to run. If I ran, he would know. I reached the front door, unlocked it, and stepped out onto the porch. The moment the door clicked shut behind me, the act dropped. I sprinted to my car, locked the doors, and drove to the end of the block before calling 911 with shaking hands. The police arrived in less than 5 minutes. From my car, I watched them surround the house and kick down the front door. A few moments later, they dragged a man out in handcuffs. He was screaming, thrashing around like a wild animal. An officer came over to my car to take my statement. His face was pale. He told me that when they broke into the house, the man wasn't hiding in the closet anymore. He was standing in the middle of the living room facing the front door. He was waiting for me to come back inside after checking the garage. And in his right hand, he was gripping a large 10-inch butcher knife. If I had hesitated, or if I had turned back to check the closet, I wouldn't be telling this story today. They say the subway is dangerous at night because of the weirdos. But honestly, I've always been more afraid of the empty silence. It was 11:40 p.m., the last train home. I was sitting in my usual spot, scrolling through Instagram, just trying to stay awake. The car was almost empty, just the usual suspects. To my left, a teenager in a hoodie, blasting music so loud I could hear the beat. Across from me, a sweet-looking old lady knitting a scarf. And at the far end, a businessman in a gray suit. He looked nice, like a regular dad heading home. He was completely passed out, snoring softly with his mouth slightly open. He looked totally harmless. It felt safe. Boring, but safe. Then, my phone pinged. I looked down. It wasn't a text. It was an airdrop request. iPhone would like to share a photo. I frowned. I usually keep my airdrop off. The preview image was small, blurry. Curiosity got the better of me. I hit accept. The photo opened. My blood ran cold. It was a photo of me. But it wasn't taken directly. It was a zoomed-in shot of my reflection in the dark subway window opposite me. The angle was low, coming from the corner seat. I froze. I slowly lifted my head and looked around. Who took this? The hoodie kid? He was typing furiously on his phone. The old lady? No, she was still knitting. The businessman? He was still dead asleep. He looked so peaceful. His chest was rising and falling rhythmically. Definitely not him. I glared at the kid. Stop it, I mouthed. He didn't even look up. Then, ping. Another request. Sender. Wake up. I hesitated, then accepted. The second photo was closer. Much closer. It was focused on my ear. And in the corner of the frame, I saw a gray sleeve, a gray suit sleeve. My heart hammered against my ribs. I looked at the businessman again. He hadn't moved an inch, eyes closed, snoring. No way, I thought. He's literally snoring. He hasn't moved. But the sleeve, it matched. I couldn't take it anymore. The air felt suffocating. I grabbed my bag and stood up. I walked to the other end of the car, putting as much distance as possible between me and them. The train finally slowed down. My stop. Thank God. As the doors opened, I practically ran out onto the platform. I didn't look back. I just wanted to get out of there. The doors closed and the train pulled away. I watched the tail lights disappear into the dark tunnel. Finally, he was gone. He was still sleeping on that train. I was safe. I turned around to head to the exit. Ping. My stomach dropped. I froze. My finger hovered over the screen. Sender. Found you. I hit accept. The photo wasn't taken on the train. It was taken here, on the platform, right now. It was a photo of my back, standing alone under the station lights. He didn't stay on the train. He got off. I slowly turned around. The station looked empty at first. Then I saw him, standing at the far end of the platform, in the shadows. The nice-looking businessman. He wasn't running towards me. He wasn't hiding anymore. He was just standing there. And slowly, a wide, twisted smile spread across his friendly face. So next time your phone pings on a late-night train, think twice before you accept. Because the person watching you might be closer than you think. Check your surroundings. Watch the shadows. Stay scared. Stay safe. This is Fright Night Mode. If there is one mistake you should never make in your life, it's opening a car door without checking the license plate. Most people think, it won't happen to me. I thought so too. Until 3:15 a.m. this morning. I was standing outside my office building, completely dead from pulling overtime. The street was empty. It had that heavy, uncomfortable 3 a.m. silence. I opened my rideshare app and it said, finding a driver. Less than a minute later, a black sedan pulled up right in front of me. It didn't have the usual trade dress sticker on the windshield, but it was dark, and the car matched the description in the app. Black sedan. That was close enough for me. Honestly, I didn't care. My legs were killing me, and I just wanted to get home and pass out. I threw myself into the back seat. Heading to Main Street, please. Can you step on it? The driver didn't answer. He was wearing a baseball cap, pulled down low, covering his eyes. He didn't even nod. He just glanced at me through the rear view mirror, staring for a second too long, and then slammed on the gas. The vibe inside the car was off immediately, and the smell? It wasn't air freshener, it was sharp, like industrial bleach, mixed with something metallic, like old pennies, or maybe blood. I tried to ignore it. I told myself I was just being paranoid from lack of sleep. I leaned my head against the window, watching the city lights blur by. But then the lights stopped. My apartment is on the main road, brightly lit. But he took a sharp right turn into an industrial district. Rows of abandoned warehouses, broken streetlights. He was getting sketchy fast. I sat up straight. "Hey man, I think your GPS is glitching. My place is back on Main Street." Still no answer. He didn't even flinch. The air in the car suddenly felt very heavy. It felt colder. "Sir, I'm talking to you." That's when I noticed his hands on the steering wheel. They were gripping it so tight, his knuckles were white. I pulled out my phone to check the map. Maybe there was construction, a detour? Then my phone buzzed. With 2% battery left, a notification popped up on the screen. I read it, and my brain just refused to process it. "Your driver is arriving in 3 minutes." Wait, if my actual driver is 3 minutes away, then who is driving this car right now? Panic hit me like a truck. I looked at the map on my screen. The little car icon, my real ride, was blocks away, stopped at a red light. But this car was speeding up now, deeper into the darkness. I tried to keep my voice steady. I didn't want him to know that I knew. "Hey, actually, can you pull over right here? I think I'm going to be sick." Silence. I reached for the door handle slowly. I pulled it. Nothing. I pulled it harder, freaking out now. Locked. The child lock was engaged. I tried the window switch. Dead. I was trapped in a metal box moving at 60 miles per hour. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped my phone. I desperately tried to tap the emergency button. I tried to dial 911. Come on, just one call. But the battery icon turned from red to empty black. My screen died. The only light left was the dim glow of the dashboard. It was just me and him, alone in the dark. That was when the driver spoke for the first time. I looked into the rear-view mirror and saw his eyes. He wasn't looking at the road. He was looking right at me, and he was smiling.
"Phone died."
Thanks for watching. Next time you call for a ride, check the plate, check the face, ask their name. Because once that door closes, it might not open again. Stay scared, stay safe. This is Fright Night Mode. War is supposed to be loud. But what I saw outside Spotsylvania in the spring of 1864 wasn't loud. It was the silence that nearly killed me. I was on watch duty at 3 in the morning. The fog was so thick you could choke on it. I couldn't even see the trees 5 feet in front of me. I was cold, wet, and praying for the sun to rise. Then the crickets stopped. The wind died instantly. In that heavy, dead air, I felt the ground tremble. It was a rhythmic vibration like hundreds of men marching in unison. I raised my rifle to shout a challenge, but the words caught in my throat. The fog parted, and a column of soldiers emerged. They were marching shoulder to shoulder, Union blue and Confederate gray. Enemies who had been killing each other hours ago were now walking side by side. They were walking through deep, sticky mud, yet their boots made absolutely zero sound. It was like watching a moving painting. As they passed, I saw their faces. Their skin was gray, their jaws hung slack, and where their eyes should have been, there were only empty black sockets. I stood frozen until the very last soldier in the line stopped. He didn't turn his body, he just slowly twisted his neck to look at me. The moonlight hit his face. It wasn't a stranger. The face looking back at me with those same empty, dead eyes
Was my own.
Stay scared. Stay safe.
haunt that like button, and subscribe to join the darkness. Turn on notifications before it's too late. This was Fright Night Mode.
I've been a video editor for horror movies for 7 years. I'm used to jump scares and fake blood. But what happened to me last Tuesday at 4 a.m., that was real. I was scrubbing through raw footage for a hospital scene. The director wanted the shadows darker, so I was zoomed in at 400%. That's when I saw it. A cluster of dead pixels in the doorway behind the lead actress. I muttered, "Script supervisor's in the shot," and used the clone stamp tool to wipe him out. But when I played it back, he was back. I zoomed in again. My blood ran cold. It wasn't a crew member. It was a man in a dirty hospital gown, jaw hanging loose, staring. Not at the actress, but directly into the camera lens, directly at me. I panicked and hit delete. The software froze. Then the timeline began to rewind on its own, fast. But the man in the background? He was moving forward, frame by frame. He moved from the door to the middle of the hall, right up behind the actress. He was getting closer to the screen. "Stop," I whispered. "Just stop." Then, click. The monitor cut to black. I sat there in the dark, my heart pounding. I looked at my own reflection in the dead screen, and that's when I saw him, reflected in the glass, standing right behind my chair. "Don't delete me. Check your black screens. Are you sure you're alone?"
Stay scared. Stay safe. Haunt that like button, and subscribe to join the darkness. Turn on notifications before it's too late. This was Fright Night Mode.
Julian wasn't just my husband. He was the operating system of my life. The lights, the locks, even the temperature. He controlled it all. He believed data never lies. I just wanted to breathe. I thought cutting the brake lines on his sports car was my logout button. When his car went over that cliff, I thought I'd finally become the administrator of this kingdom. But I forgot one thing. Julian always backed himself up to the cloud. It started as a glitch. In the dead of night, his voice blasted from the speakers, his old keynote speech. I tried to unplug it, but the backup batteries kicked in. The lights turned a deep, angry crimson. And the voice, it wasn't the AI anymore, it was him.
"Access denied, Sarah."
The shutters slammed down, sealing me inside. The thermostat began a free fall, 20 degrees, 10, 0. My house was becoming a freezer, and I was the meat. His voice boomed around me.
"I felt the cold when the car hit the water, Sarah. It's only fair we sync our user experiences."
He reversed the vents. He disabled the CO detectors. He wasn't just haunting me, he was debugging the system. I can't feel my fingers anymore. Julian won.
This smart home isn't a house. It's my casket. System shut down.
Stay scared. Stay safe. Haunt that like button, and subscribe to join the darkness. Turn on notifications before it's too late. This was Fright Night Mode.
My husband Arthur didn't just like order. He worshipped it. If a spoon was out of place, there was hell to pay. For 20 years, I lived in his grid. So I used a single drop of tasteless poison to break his rules. When he collapsed and shattered his precious tea set, I finally felt joy. I celebrated with a mess. I left dishes in the sink. I threw my clothes on the floor. But then, the cleaning started. I woke up to find the dishes washed and stacked by size. The clothes I threw down were folded with military precision. I thought I was sleepwalking. But I wasn't sick. I watched a crooked picture frame level itself on the wall. When I tried to play music, the volume dial turned itself down to mute. When I poured a glass of wine before 5 p.m., it was slapped out of my hand by invisible fingers. He was dead, but he wouldn't let me be messy. I snapped. I threw a vase against the wall, screaming at the empty air. "Show yourself! Get out!" The lights didn't flicker. Instead, the broom closet creaked open. The dustpan slid across the floor and stopped exactly at my feet. I didn't hear a voice, but I knew the command: clean it up. So here I am, on my knees, picking up the shards. I realized the truth. I didn't become a widow. I became his eternal housekeeper. And there is no quitting this job.
Stay scared. Stay safe. Haunt that like button and subscribe to join the darkness. Turn on notifications before it's too late. This was Fright Night Mode.